This week marks the one-year anniversary of Steve Ballmer as CEO of Microsoft. Bill Gates is still chairman of the board and chief software architect, but Ballmer is responsible for day-to-day operations. As TechTV Seattle bureau chief Matt Markovich reports, Ballmer has tightened the belt and helped refocus the software giant.
On his new role. Congratulations, Steve.
Minutes after Bill Gates handed over the reins, Steve Ballmer pulled no punches at the Department of Justice.
I think it would be absolutely reckless and irresponsible for anyone to try to break up this company.
Looking at Gates, you'd think he was having second thoughts about making his friend CEO. But that's Steve Ballmer, gregarious, boisterous, wearing his heart on his sleeve with no shortage of analogies.
It would be a little bit like breaking up Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen because they won some titles, or breaking up John Lennon and Paul McCartney because they had too many #1 hits.
Ballmer's first year began with Microsoft stock hitting an all-time high of 116, then a drop to 40. But many observers don't blame Ballmer. In fact, he's getting credit from prominent ex-Microsofties.
I think he's done very well with a gigantic challenge.
A gigantic challenge of an antitrust trial and slimming down what analysts called a bloated Microsoft.
The very first thing he did was he reorganized the company to create autonomous divisions focused on individual customers because he was feeling that Microsoft was losing its customer focus.
Stuart Johnson is writing a book about Microsoft.
He released that memo where they talked about tightening belts and cutting down on expenses and fancy parties and things like that. And that'll probably be good for the company's esprit as well.
And that meant focusing on fewer but bigger payoff projects. Under Ballmer's first year, Microsoft spun off its travel website Expedia, sold Sidewalk, created joint ventures for the CarPoint and Home Advisor websites.
Whenever I've got something important to say, what do? I give a speech.
And in one of those recent broadcasts, he said his priority scenarios include Windows PCs, Yukon, the next release of SQL Server, and the future publishing standard of XML known as .NET, and preparing for the final ruling in the antitrust case.
There's a ruling in the DOJ case, I give a broadcast. There's a positive ruling, I do a cartwheel.
But ironically, Ballmer's biggest challenge is what he does best, selling Microsoft's industry-altering .NET strategy that some critics say doesn't have a viable business plan behind it. In Seattle, Matt Markovich, TechTV News.